Oh, we're started. We're going.
Okay. Hey.
Hey, everybody, it's Joey Chandler. Welcome to another awesome Monday morning. And this is the Next Step interviews where I interview amazing people doing amazing work and ask them about how they can help or how they can see people can take the next step in a whole variety of areas. Because remember, as I say, it's not about taking the biggest step. It's not about taking the right step. It's about taking the next step. And today, my guest is Mike Wolpert. He's a mentor of mine, a friend, just someone who is just a great, just full of generosity, and he's an expert in crafting stories and using those stories to tell your marketing message, to get your message out with people so that you can connect with them, and then obviously drive business. And then ultimately, but even beyond that, what I'm finding in talking and working with him is that when you're comfortable sharing your story, it improves your soul. You feel better about yourself. You feel better about what you're doing. You feel better about your life. And so I'm excited to have him on here. And let me get him, Mr. Mike. Hello. How are you?
Joey, good morning. I'm happy to see you. What a great thing to do first thing in the morning. I love it.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. And for a reminder for everyone that's here, please ask questions. Mike will, at any point, if you have a question for Mike, post on the link below, and we'll get to them as best we can. And so Mike, tell me a little bit about how you got started in storytelling and why is storytelling so important to you, and how you help people out.
Sure. Okay. Well, stories always fascinated me since I've been a kid. I was an avid reader. My mom had a strict rule when we were growing up. You get 1 hour of TV, non-accruable. I knew what accruable meant when I was 5 years old. And so we were oriented in my family to read. So I was able to dive into stories all the time. Fast forward a few decades, I spent a lot of years in the radio business. Running ad teams and selling advertising. And radio is nothing but a story. You got 60 seconds to capture somebody just with the story you're telling them and take them from somewhere to somewhere else, from point A to point B where you want. And that's really effective. Small businesses, I've discovered, have great stories to tell, right? Big businesses spend millions of dollars to make up good stories. Budweiser, great example. Everybody's just done some fabulous advertising post Super Bowl, around the Super Bowl. But the dog and the horses, not real. Our stories are real. And so the idea of being able to artfully tell your story as a business owner in a way that lets people know what you do, why you do it, and how their lives are going to be better because they know you is the best way to communicate what you do in your business. But the process of telling people your story, I do this thing. Hi, I'm Joey Chandler. I've created a course called Funk to Flow to get people out of this place where they are into a place that's useful and nurturing and feeling good. It's all based around simple linguistic tricks and the idea of a word. And a reason I do this is because I had a funk and I struggled to get out of it, and I got into the situation and I found my life was better in these ways. Now, I'm just making that up. That may or may not be your story.
I'm going to hire you.
Sorry?
I was saying that's perfect. I just got to record that and we'll put it up there over and over again.
But you see, that story that you tell to me, let's say, you're also telling it to yourself. So every time we tell somebody about what drives us, what makes us passionate, what our dreams, our goals are, what difference we want to make on the planet, we're telling that story to ourselves. As entrepreneurs, sometimes it's really useful to have all that backlog of self-information, right? So, and it's most obvious in the way people wake up. That's why I started our conversation by what a great thing to do first thing in the morning. The way people wake up, some people wake up and go, oh, it's Monday. It's Monday. I hate Mondays. And so guess what? They're going to have a Monday that sucks because that's what they've asked for. Other people wake up and go, Monday, Monday, woohoo! You know, ridiculous. Like, it's Christmas, it's Monday. Now, most of us are somewhere in between those two extremes, right? But I've found almost without fail that little story we tell ourselves is what plays out the rest of the day or the rest of the morning or whatever it is. And that's what I love about this program. You know, it's a nugget that you can take and do with what you like. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, it totally does. It's, yeah, but so let me ask you this. So what if you're in a place of like, you don't know your story or you don't think your story is any good or, you know, you're like, I do this thing because, you know, that's what my dad did if you're in a family business, or I do this thing because it just kind of happened. It's not like I had this amazing story and then I created this stuff. Because I know I see that. I see people telling these incredible stories and I'm like, I don't got that. You know, what do I do? You know, for those people, what do you tell those folks?
I'm not certain that answers that what you just said is entirely true. I think that the difference between I don't got that story and I don't fully realize my story is that gray area. So you hit on the right word. I do this thing because. Now, I don't know that there are a lot of entrepreneurs who are just doing this thing, or business owners who are doing just, to some extent, you know, look, my dad was a securities analyst, worked on Wall Street. I didn't go into that business. If I had, it would have been for him. But the way to make your story come out, it's not about making it interesting, it's about making it real. And the way to release that is to say, hey, I do this thing because fill in the blank. And just keep filling in that blank until you get some juicy stuff. I do this thing because I got to feed my kids, because I got to pay the mortgage, because I got to do this, I gotta. And then there'll come a point where you say, I do this thing, this business, I do this thing because, and it's the upside. Oh, you know what? I get to do this thing. And then that puts a little bit of a different spin on it. But a great way to follow that up, if you want to create your own story, or expose your own story, or share your own story, is to say, I do this thing because, fill in the blank. This is important to you because, fill in the blank. So I'm super interested in what drives, well, most people, but let's continue to use you as an example since you're sitting here.
Okay.
I'm super interested in what drives you to do this. I'm kind of interested in other things in your life. I think this Funk to Flow program is pretty cool. And I love how excited you are about it. That only gets me so far. What I want to know is, what does it mean to me? It's not greedy. It's not self-centered. It's wired into our ancient brain, our limbic system, this idea of being able to make small, instant, powerful decisions. Does this matter to me? Will it help me survive? Do I need this? So if you tell me this is important to you because, now you have my attention. So for people struggling to explore their story, those are two good things. I do this thing because of me. The results you're going to receive are like this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So just to clarify that, so start off by just saying, why do I do this? You know, one thing I want to add to this that I've discovered in like networking with people is that I've started asking people, you know, why do you do your job? And I assume that they're in the ultimately perfect job for them. You know, like, and I don't, and it's a tricky thing, but if you assume that, I mean, it's just an assumption. It's not, you know, probably not true all the time. But if I assume that that's true, then there's some reason that they really are doing that job, and it just makes for an interesting conversation. And most people are doing their job for some reason. I mean, by the time you get to our age, they're doing a job for some reason they like it. You know, something special in there. It's not just there by accident. I found, and so I work on sharing my story and like, hey, this is I'm here for a really good reason, and why is that? Because, and then go to the story of how this helps how I help clients and how I can help you, the person I'm talking to you.
Sure. And so there's your personal story. And that a lot of times, when I'm working with somebody, because a lot of people, some people say something similar to what you said earlier. Well, I don't really know. My story's not that interesting. A lot of people's, and I know this is absolutely false. People's stories are fascinating. A lot of people, oh, no, I'm not that interesting. So there's a little bit of a process which people can do by themselves, which is, what do you like about this? Well, I like my customers. What do they like about you? Just keep asking, what's good about this? What's good about this? And eventually you discover that that there's something really meaningful that occurs around what you do. And it's okay to be proud of that. I think a lot of us struggle with, well, I don't want to seem like such a braggart. You know what I love about photography? When I do family portraits, I create a snapshot in time that people will love, cherish, and remember for decades, maybe even longer. So it's not just a picture. Now, that might sound grand from coming from somebody's mouth, but it's true, and it makes for a far more interesting discussion. But when it comes to business marketing, because you just kind of talked about business marketing, there are three really critical stories. There's your story, which we've kind of talked about. I do this thing because this is important to you, my customer, because you'll get these results. Your life will be better. Your attitude will be better. You'll be faster, thinner, better looking, whatever the hell it is that you sell. There's a story about why you do what you do. Then there's the flip side of that coin, which is the story of your customer's experience of you. A testimonial, a case study, a review, an attaboy, The best marketing you can ever do is word of mouth marketing from somebody else's mouth. So there's the story of their experience of you, which for a photographer would be, we just wanted some pictures from our wedding. What we didn't realize was that we would get keepsake after keepsake. We would have these blah, 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 their experience. And then for retail businesses, or, almost any business that is in pure solopreneur, we have more than one or two people. You have other people that are doing customer-facing work, whether it's an assistant, a counter person, a bartender, a waiter, a trainer at a gym. There's their story, which is doubly interesting. Because let's say I work for you at your gym and I'm a trainer. My story is very interesting because I'm the guy going to work with clients who are paying money. So I want to hear what drove me into training, personal story, why I work at your gym, because it's the best in town. Let's face it, I could work anywhere. I'm a great trainer. I work at Joey Chandler's gymnasium because, right, there's that story. And then the story of his clients, which is the most important thing of all, because I'm going to talk about, as a trainer at Joey Chandler's gym, I'm going to help you achieve the results that I've achieved for many of my other clients, such as Mary lost weight, Bob gained muscle, Joan became a super duper long distance runner after, the period of time. Those stories are, I think, what really kind of engages people into thinking about what you do and how it might work for them from the customer's point of view. And as soon as you can get a prospect thinking like a customer, then you're way closer to turning them into an actual paying customer.
I love that part about the staff story. It got me thinking, I don't really have, full-time staff, but it got me thinking well, I do work with people in partnerships, or, I put on events with other people. And I realized they have a story about me and my business that I could share with them. And, or, with other people, and it got me thinking, there's stories everywhere, right? There's all sorts of people I've interacted with, people I've met at conferences, or, clients, or where I've assisted other people, or, anything. There really are lots and lots of stories. And so maybe it sounds like what you're saying is you can start to pull all of those in to create a really robust story to share with your clients.
Yes. Yes, because
the cool part is to say is that you don't know which one that potential client, you don't know which one of those stories the client is going to be like, oh, that's
right.
it. That's why I want to work with this person.
Yes, that's exactly it. You can just kind of sift through the natural storytelling process. It's just like giving examples, right? Like, I want to make sure that you understand me. The only way that I can know for sure that you understand me is that you can relate an experience to somebody just like me. And if they liked it, then you like it. We do a lot of work in the solar industry for marketing. One of the greatest ways to sell solar power, residential solar power panels on your roof, is to say, hey, we just installed some solar panels in your neighborhood, and your neighbors are saving money, changing the world, making a difference for the planet. Now everyone's looking around their neighborhood. Ooh, Bob has solar panels. Mary has solar panels. That must be a good idea. It's the social validation, the social proof that just makes it okay. Because as soon as I see somebody that's kind of like me, my neighbor's kind of like me, right? We live in the same place, kind of, blah, blah, blah. Then my level of comfort goes through the roof.
Right.
And that story is, it seems the story is, I decided to make a big investment in my home to decrease my energy spending over the next years, to make a difference, to do my part. That could be the story. But the story that I'm actually hearing by looking at my neighbors' solar power or whatever the installation or whatever the sale is, I'm looking at, and the story I hear is, hey, it's good enough for them. It's probably good enough for me. I'm like them. I like them. They like me. They like this thing. See how it all connects. And I'm sorry, I think I saw the names go on the screen. I think it was Linda that just said, all relationships are stories. And that's exactly right. That's how we conduct relationships back and forth.
Yeah. I have to say the other story that you could add in with the solar panels, like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. Which I think
if they can afford it, I can afford it. Yes. And then there's also the pride of ownership.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the first barbecue that I had last summer after we had solar power installed, I wouldn't call it bragging, but I was definitely explaining the value to my friends. Yeah, got 18 panels, X number of kilowatts. I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. But I can tell you that 3 of my neighbors have since gotten solar, so I'm not the greatest sales guy in the world for solar, but I told them a good enough story that they said, and that's, can I make one more point? I think we're right on time.
Yep.
The story, though, that's what I love. I want to bring it all home to the funk to flow and the word of the day, if I may, because, of course, because the stories that we tell ourselves, remember I mentioned earlier, every time I tell you my story about why I do this thing and how it juices me and the impact it makes in my customers' lives, I'm really telling myself that story. That's what keeps me going. That fills my reservoirs again and again, right? And that's what the word of the day I find to be really useful, amazingly useful. I'll be honest, I was a little sketchy on this whole thing, I mean, we live in Marin, everything's fabulous. But it's a little strange. So, but I played along because I like you. You're no dummy. I figured, okay, whatever. It's a little woo-woo, but I've always discovered woo-woo stuff really kind of works sometimes, but whatever. It's a word. So I played along. I opened the emails. I read the word. And what happened is it began to be a little hook in my head, right? And one of the first ones I noticed was ravishing. You are, or who do you know? You phrase them differently, but who do you know who's ravishing? Who is ravishing? You are ravishing, that kind of thing. Ravishing is not my word. Ravishing is raven-haired beauty, that kind of thing, whatever, some mythological, stereotypical cartoon woman. Okay, so I go ravishing. Nice going, Joey. Then what happened is I notice I'm going through the day, and that stupid word is just kind of playing a little track in my head. Ravishing. It just pops up. So I've taken it. It's like you choose something you're not sure if you're going to like, and you kind of chew it and taste it a little bit, and either decide to have it again or not. Generally we don't spit it out. But my point is that what I found, the first noticeable thing that I notice is I'm starting to notice ravishing people. Ravishing. Like I look at someone, I'm not going to go, hey, you're ravishing. No, but it changes. All of a sudden I started noticing beauty. I started noticing attractiveness, not even so much physical, but that sort of innate sense of beauty. And I realized that by starting the day with the word, it put a little story playing in my head. Committed, diligent. Actually, I wrote down my 4 recent faves: diligent, committed, brilliant, and astonishing. Those are 3 things. Committed I use. I'm committed to my client's success. Diligent, my wife would disagree. Brilliant, my father would totally agree. Astonishing, I don't think so. My point is that these little words put a little story starting to play in my head, which plays out through the rest of my day, and it changes my attitude, right? And that little balance of attitude sets me up, because the story I'm telling myself is I'm going through the world looking for people who are diligent, committed, astonishing. And you start to play with these cool words, and I think it makes a big difference. So thank you. I guess this is a long thank you. It's kind of cool. I walk through, I'm like...
It's perfect, because it really is, and it's what I discovered in all this that had me understand it, is that we are all, maybe not all the time diligent or not all the time ravishing, but there's moments when we are that, and there's moments when those other people are that. And my whole point of all this is that if you can see greatness in yourself, you can see greatness in others, then you elevate both of you, to a certain degree. And what I hear you saying in the stories, and what applies in these very much in the words, is that there's stories all around us. They may not be the biggest story, they may not be a lot, but they're enough. There's something there that you can share with people that they can find interesting.
Yes.
And the word's the same thing. Is like there's times when you really suck and you're not very good, but there's also times you're brilliant and beautiful and ravishing and diligent and all that stuff. And we have a choice of either looking at the I suck things, or just being like, hey, I may be bad, but I'm also a little diligent. I can use that.
Right.
I can use that, go forward. And I think that's the important thing, right? Is just, using stories that will help us move forward.
Yeah, and it's the story of hope. It's that story of hope. I'm having a crappy day. I have evidence that I don't always have crappy days. I hope to have a different one. That story, that little link, that little word can be the difference between continuing or changing direction and getting into flow.
Yeah. And hey, one question I meant to ask you before we got on this is, so if I'm a business owner, if I'm somebody, is it helpful for me to talk to other people about stories, or like how, I know you have a program, but like if I'm at home, is there just there's a couple things I can do to kind of start to craft my story? I can ask those questions, but should I bring in other people, to talk it out with?
Sure. I think one of the most valuable things is working with somebody you trust. Could be a friend would be ideal. A friend that knows you in business probably would be perfect. Ask them what your story is. Tell them, hey, you know what? I'm working on this exercise. You can paint it as a spiritual journey or a marketing program. It doesn't matter. But say, you know what? I'm realizing the importance of telling authentic, true, believable stories in my life, but also in my business as part of my marketing, so I can let people know what I'm doing. What do you think my story is? Well, you did this and this and this, and you just start kind of talking, and you just have a little back and forth. Oh, and just let it come out. I also find my dogs are very useful in this category because they listen. They appear to be on the edge of their seat. And I just tell them stories all day long. And they, the feedback's all positive. So get a friend or get a dog.
That's awesome. Okay, Mr. Mike, that's I love it. A friend or a dog, whatever one comes first. Um, so I love this. So I'll put in the links below. So your website, socialjumpstart.com, and people can definitely go there and check it out. And before I go, you have a program that's coming up soon, correct? Around local advertising. You want to give a couple info about that?
Well, we about a year ago, we released a really powerful story marketing course for small business. And that kind of really talks through the kind of the concepts that we've dealt with today, and then a lot of specifics about how to tell your story in certain ways, in certain tones and language for different platforms, how to connect with people, how to leverage testimonials. And through that course, I discovered that there were a lot of people who were missing the first step of totally local neighborhood domination, hand-to-hand marketing. We call it super local SEO, which basically means for people who have a brick and mortar or need to get through somebody's door to sell them something, the solar energy guys, or my orthodontist, my chiropractor, my massage therapist, whatever it is. So we have a program that we're about to come out with in March that'll really show you how to start a really powerful marketing foundation by talking to the people next door, by using direct mail, direct contact. So I'm pretty excited about that. Really useful. And in fact, maybe when we're ready to launch, I'll offer anybody that watches this family and friends discount. And it's pretty interesting. It's the foundation of really good marketing for non-marketing people. And through it, we're going to teach you how to write a headline in 8 words and a paragraph of 30 words. And once you can do those 2 things about your business, how to encapsulate the story, then you can do anything. So, looking forward to that. Thanks.
That's awesome. Well, it also it got me thinking that it brings up the point of actually just being known in your community, known in your neighborhood, knowing your neighbors and the people that you work that are close by. And I think there's true power in that. Yeah,
sure.
Not just to be able to tell your story, to be able to tell their story, so that you can really grow the connections around you. So I think you get real power in that. And I'll just say this: one of the greats, our story, Mike and I met on a Facebook group. I guess it was about a year ago, right? And it was one of those things like, we were like, we're chatting back and forth, having this great time. Then it's like, hey, it looks to me like you live like a half a block from me. And it was, a couple miles, but it's one of the things, the few times where I've met somebody really great on Facebook that they lived right in my neighborhood, and we went for it. So I think that's a good story for us. And I guess the power of Facebook on that one.
Well, that's a great point, because part of the way we tell our story now is online. I think the first time we met in face-to-face, was it at a coffee, or did you just come over here?
In coffee shop.
Coffee shop. So, by the time you meet somebody, I actually just met a Facebook friend, Terry Goodman. My wife knows her in real life. I've never met her. We ran into her at the theater. We went to see Fun Home over the weekend. And it's such a trip when you meet people in real life, because we have this ability to tell stories online now. And that was weird 5 years ago. It's totally natural now.
Yeah. Well, I had that same thing last week. The woman that I interviewed on Friday, she creates these really amazing tribute books. I interviewed on Friday. On Wednesday, I ran into her at an event. I had never met her, but she wears hats. She wears hats all the time. I saw her, and I'm like, I think that's Sherry. And we had this amazing connection just by, so, and her brand, her story is hats. I was like, and I asked her that question, but.
Well, and that brings it back around to our original commenter the original comment I saw on the screen was relationships are built on story.
Yeah.
And then to bring it back to the final thing about the word of the day, stories are based on thoughts and beliefs. Thoughts and beliefs are based on something just as simple as you are committed. You go looking for that. You put that in your head, and your mind starts to look for that. There's beauty in the world today. Really? I don't see any, but I'll keep looking.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Mike.
All right.
We got to wrap this up. I really appreciate it. Any last words you want to leave people with?
Sure. Just pay attention to what you think early in the morning. Pay attention to the thoughts that you go through during the day. And if your day's starting to go off track, it's not a bad day. It's a bad moment. So just change the story you're telling yourself. And sometimes that can be as easy as, well, what if this was different? Fill in the blank. I did well on fill in the blank questions in school. Because fill in the blank. All right. Thank you, John.
Awesome, man. Stay online. I'm going to wrap up with everybody, and I'll be right back to you. Okay, everybody, thank you so much. If you, as you tell, Mike is an amazing guy, just a wealth of knowledge and just lots of business experience and lots of just, good, mental and good soulful experience. So if you have any questions, you want to improve your story, definitely check them out at socialjumpstart.com. And if you like this, please like this post, share it, do all those sorts of things, because I think lots and lots of people could use this information. And I'm doing this. I'm not advertising it at all. I'm just trying to put it out in the world and hopefully help people out. And if you do want the email of the day, I'll put the links down below, but you can get that at funktoflow.co. That's .co, because where you want to go to raise the tempos, funk to flow. Working on a rap. Anyway, thank you so much. I'll be in touch tomorrow. I'm talking to Mr. Clay Green about the power of meditation. And he's like this meditation maverick, and he's just out promoting it everywhere, and he's awesome. So I will see you tomorrow. We do these next step interviews every day, 9:30 a.m. Pacific Coast time. Talk to you later, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye. Oh, Linda, I just got your note here. Linda says she's still thinking about Audacious. Yes, Linda, you should be. You are audacious. You're awesome. And just to get back to Mike's point, it really does. I send out these words every day, and not every word connects with people, but some words stick with people for a while. And some words, like Mike says, you don't think that they're part of you, but all of a sudden you're like, hey, I really am brilliant here, or I am ravishing, or I am audacious in Linda's case. It is really interesting to get you thinking that beyond yourself. So I highly recommend it. They're awesome emails. And again, thank you to everybody. You have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.